litter have been left behind in parks and beaches over the last few days since the rules on meeting outdoors was eased.
Yeah, some of the worst affected places include Nottingham. Absolutely disgusting scenes there. Cardiff, by the Bay. Sheffield, Encliffe Park, where tons of rubbish had to be removed.
It's quite something, isn't it, to see those scenes. Shocking. More than 2 million pieces of litter are dropped in the UK every day, and the cost to clear it up is over £1 billion a year. Currently, litter louts can face fines of up to £150, rising to £2,500 if they're taken to court. But most councils issue less than one fine a week for littering.
So it's time to take firmer action, or is it? Should we pay people to snitch on litter louts? Joining us now is Countdown host Nick Hewer, who thinks we shouldn't pay people to tell on others, and TV presenter Bushra Shaikh, who thinks it's fine to grass on people and thinks a financial incentive would help. Bushra, let's start with you. Good morning to both of you. Why should we be paid? Isn't this something that we should just be doing anyway, encouraging other people to pick up after them?
Morning, everyone. You know what? In a probably ideal world, yes, you're right, but that's just not the way people work. And at the end of the day, if they're going to take their time out and they're going to tell and grass or snitch on people, then why not be paid for it? I just don't see why there would be anything wrong with that. It just looks like a win-win to me.
And Nick, coming to you, a win-win, Bushra says there. You know, it's obvious when we look at the scenes, when we look at those awful pictures of the amount of litter that people have left behind. Is it something like this that can make a difference? Don't we need to think about doing things differently to encourage people to tidy up after them?
Listen, there's nobody who is more obsessed with litter than me. I hate it. In fact, my partner, Catherine, says, when I calm down, I'm going to, burst a blood vessel. However, it's the duty of a citizen to report it, not for money. This isn't Stasi East Germany in the Cold War. What are we going to start with next? Maybe we should snitch for a few quid if we spot somebody speeding or parking on a W. It's a bad thing. It's not a British thing. We should do the right thing, report them by all means. But for money, I think it's disgraceful. And I don't want my grandchildren to grow up in a society whereby for a few quid, you'll snitch on a fellow citizen. Go and address them personally. Say, you've done this littering here, pick it up. And if you don't pick it up, I'll pick it up for you. Money for snitching, it's a disgrace. I hate it.
Nick, do you think this could lead to perhaps confrontation?
Absolutely, of course it will. And one person against another, it'll lead to fist fights. It's awful. Let me tell you, a couple of Christmases ago, in our little country lane, somebody had dumped 2 plastic bags. I was so obsessed with it that I ripped them open and went through every piece of paper, it was all the Christmas wrappings, to try and find an address so that I could go back and address the people that had dumped it there. It's their public space as much as mine. Why are they just spoiling what they should be enjoying? I think it's appalling. And the whole solution to this is to get the kids at a very young age and drum into them that we must look after our countryside. I spent a lot of time in France. Do you think this sort of carry-on happens in France? They love their countryside so much they'd prefer to, have a tooth pulled out than drop litter. There is no litter in France because they love their country and they understand that it's everybody's space.
Well, Nick, I love the fact you've been doing a Poirot. You've been rooting through people's rubbish to try to find out who's behind it. Bushra, I know you wanted to come in there. I mean, Nick's saying it's your civic duty. You shouldn't need to be paid to do your civic duty and to report people if they litter.
Well, of course, that's, again, going back to idealism. That's not how it works here, Nick. I mean, honestly, why should people have to patrol stuff as well as going to work, as well as looking after kids, as well as... This is something that, if we incentivise, it will also deter others to leave, not to leave all of their rubbish in the parks. Or, I mean, I know it's
British
we think when they, it's not going to happen that.
It's an un-British thing. If you want to scrabble around to earn a few quid by reporting on your neighbours, that's up to you. But it's not a country that I want to live in, or I want my grandchildren to live in. We go as a village, as a group, around our area and pick up the litter. I hate it. It's awful. But I would prefer a little bit of litter than to have you snitching on a neighbour. It leads to all sorts of trouble. It's your duty as a citizen to do it, not for money. Why is it always money?
I mean, I would do it for free, but there are hundreds of people out there that just don't have the time. However, if they were incentivized, then they would, because they say actually saying that if it was incentivized, those people that are gonna leave all their rubbish will think that more people are patrolling. We just don't have the time.
Well, Bushra, if I could just interject it, I mean, how much do you want to be paid to snitch?
Yeah.
Oh God, you know what? That's not something I thought about, but it is. I mean, it should be a reasonable amount. I mean, we don't know what the
What's
scheme
a reasonable
will
amount? Give me a reasonable amount. How much? What would make you think? Do you know what? I'm going to pick up my phone,
like 50
film that
quid, 100
person,
quid?
find out who they are, and report them to the police.
50 quid.
5.
I mean, actually, when we look at the costs, because, Nick, at the moment, it costs sort of £1 billion a year to clear up the litter that everyone's leaving. So we're paying a huge amount for this litter at the moment anyway. Do you think more needs to be done? I was staggered by this statistic that actually councils issue less than one fine a week for littering. So do we need to have more penalties for littering, stiffer penalties for littering, so that if people can be traced back, that actually then action would be able to be taken?
It's against the law, and it's for the lawyers, police and the councils to do their job. It's not society's job to pay. It costs £1 billion a year. How much are we going to be paying all the snitchers? And anyway, the truth of the matter is some councils don't take any action at all. But listen, there's nobody who hates litter more than me, but I do not want to grow up in a society where everybody's running around like in Stasi East Germany, snitching on each other for a few quid. I think it's awful.
Well, Nick, you might want to look away now. We've been running a poll all morning to find out how people feel about snitching on litter louts. And just over 60% of people...
It's gone up
have said yes, that they would snitch. So how do you feel about that?
I'm appalled. I mean, it tells us quite a lot about the society we live in. They'll do anything for a few quid.
But actually, a lot of people getting in touch this morning. Lisa says, I'd happily report litter bugs without needing reimbursement. I already do. I hate litter with a passion. Paul says, if you need to be paid to do the right thing, you're worse than dropping the litter. And Trevor says we need litter police on the beaches and parks, hit everyone with a £100 on-the-spot fine. He says it normally happens on our streets if we spot people. But
yeah, Mark on Twitter says this would just encourage people being wrongly accused, so someone could get paid.
So
Agree.
We will leave it there. But listen, thanks both very much for joining us this morning. The debate will continue, and thanks to you at home as well for getting in touch. I think it's got a lot of people talking this morning. But let's hope...
What a load of rubbish.
What a load of rubbish. Not a load of rubbish. Let's hope we haven't got a load of rubbish around this weekend when everyone heads out.